Alright, so let's talk about Zodiac in Mewgenics, because if you've made it to Act 2 and the desert region, you already know this game does not play nice. Just when you think you've seen all the chaos it can throw at you, it hits you with something even weirder, darker, and somehow more brilliant. That's kind of the magic of Mewgenics, it keeps escalating. New areas, nastier enemies, more mechanics layered on top of mechanics, and then, boom, Zodiac shows up like he owns the place. Now, fair warning, Zodiac is a serious step up from anything in Act 1. For most players, that first attempt is going to feel brutal. You'll probably get wiped, stare at your screen for a second, and wonder what just happened. But here's the thing, this fight is a puzzle. Once you start understanding his patterns, his phases, and how the desert environment plays into the encounter, everything clicks, and suddenly, the boss that felt impossible becomes manageable, almost easy. So in this guide, we're breaking down exactly how Zodiac works and how you can turn that chaotic bloodbath into a clean victory. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. If you have made it all the way to Zodiac in the desert region of Mewgenics, first of all, respect. This is not just another boss standing in your way. Zodiac is one of the final bosses of the entire desert area, and he absolutely plays like it. He is fast, he keeps his distance, and that revolver of his hits ridiculously hard. It honestly feels like he has unlimited range, so you cannot just sit back and trade blows. If you walk into this fight without a real plan, and without squeezing every bit of value out of your units, items, and positioning, he is going to punish you for it. This is one of those encounters where one mistake can snowball into a total disaster. So let us break it down in a practical way. I am going to give you a quick overview of how Zodiac behaves and which units give you the best chance of actually bringing this gunslinging cat down. He is not a boss you can underestimate, especially in a region that is already known for being brutal. You need mobility, smart positioning, and units that can either survive his insane damage output or pressure him hard enough that he cannot freely line up shots. If you approach this fight casually, you are going to have a very bad time, but if you prepare properly and build around countering his strengths, this fight becomes intense in a fun way instead of just frustrating. Let us quickly go over the core details you need to know about Zodiac in Mewgenics. He is classified as a final boss, and you will encounter him in Act 2, the desert. That alone should tell you this is not some mid-run speed bump. With a maximum health pool of 75 hit points, Zodiac might not look overwhelming on paper, but do not let that number fool you. His damage output and mobility make those 75 hit points feel much harder to chew through than you would expect. As for rewards, like all bosses in Mewgenics, Zodiac drops a random item when defeated. Some of the potential drops we have seen so far include the bag of stuff weapon and the small bomb weapon. Keep in mind, this is not a complete list. Since boss drops are randomized, we will continue updating the potential rewards as we discover more variations. So when you finally take down this Crazed gunman, there is always that extra bit of excitement knowing you might walk away with something new and powerful for your future runs. Alright, let us talk team composition, because against Zodiac, this is where the fight is won or completely thrown. You need to bring your absolute best setup into this encounter. The lineup we strongly recommend is Thief, Hunter, Tank, and Cleric. We tried getting creative on our first run and brought a Necromancer instead of a Thief. Do not do that. Seriously, just do not. This fight demands mobility, pressure, and survivability, and that specific 4-unit setup checks all the right boxes. The Thief is incredibly valuable here with +4 speed and +1 luck, even if it comes at the cost of constitution and strength. Zodiac is constantly repositioning and firing from dangerous angles, so having a unit that can quickly get behind him or force awkward positioning is huge. Manually trying to outmaneuver Zodiac without that speed bonus is frustrating and risky. The Thief makes those flanking plays actually realistic instead of a gamble that gets your unit deleted. Then you have your Hunter, bringing +3 dexterity and +2 luck to the table. That ranged pressure is critical. Zodiac thrives when he can dictate space, so having a reliable ranged damage dealer to consistently chip him down helps control the pace of the fight. Pair that with a tank stacking +4 constitution to soak shots and absorb pressure, and suddenly Zodiac's revolver is not instantly ending your run every time he lines someone up. Finally, the Cleric ties everything together. With bonus charisma and constitution, even at the cost of some speed and dexterity, the healing support is non-negotiable in this fight. Zodiac hits hard, and someone will get popped at some point. Being able to recover, stabilize, and continue applying damage is what turns a chaotic shootout into a controlled takedown. You can experiment with something like a fighter for close range damage, but overall, you need a dedicated close quarters damage dealer, a range damage dealer, a defensive tank, and a reliable healing cleric. That formula gives you the cleanest path to finally bringing this desert menace down. Once the fight starts, Zodiac immediately goes into full gunslinger mode, and yes, every single shot hurts. A lot. The key here is not to rush him like this is some normal encounter. You actually want to play this slow and smart. Bait out his shots, force him to waste ammunition, and carefully close the distance little by a little. Position your tank where he is most likely to draw fire. Keep your thief ready to capitalize on openings, and let your hunter apply steady pressure from range. The goal is to create a moment where Zodiac is vulnerable, then collapse on him and deal a massive chunk of damage before he can reset the spacing. This fight is absolutely winnable, but only if you stay calm. The second you panic because he lands a heavy hit, things start falling apart. That is exactly what Zodiac punishes. Instead, think one turn ahead at all times. Plan your movement, protect your injured units with your cleric, and commit only when you know you can follow through safely. If you stay patient, calculated, and fully utilize the strengths of your recommended team, you will eventually corner this revolver-wielding menace and walk out of the desert victorious. The first mechanic you need to understand is what we like to call Crazed shot. Zodiac will fire at basically anything that moves in his line of sight. If you take a step and he can see you, he pulls the trigger. That makes normal positioning feel incredibly awkward at first, because every small adjustment can cost you a huge chunk of health. But once you realize this is predictable behavior, you can actually turn it into your biggest advantage. Remember, he is using a revolver. That means 6 shots before he has to reload. Your job is to burn through those 6 shots safely. Even though you only have 4 units, you can stretch that count by using summoned familiars if your hunter or other units can bring them in. Zodiac will happily waste bullets on them the moment they move. On top of that, you can deliberately move in and out of his line of sight to bait shots. It might feel scary at first, but if you are doing it with intention and proper positioning, you are controlling the tempo of the fight. The arena itself also helps you if you use it correctly. There are tall objects everywhere, like upright tires, boxes, and cacti. These block line of sight, and more importantly, they absorb bullets. Position your units behind these objects and make small movements to force Zodiac to shoot the environment instead of your team. While he is busy emptying his revolver into tires and cactus, you are steadily closing the gap. Once he is forced to reload, that is your window. Let your hunter land multiple ranged attacks, then send your tank forward to soak a potential hit and deliver a heavy close range strike. That is how you dismantle Crazed shot, instead of letting it dismantle you. Once Zodiac empties his revolver, he does not just stand there politely. He creates distance immediately, backs off, and reloads, basically resetting the entire dance. That means you have to go through the same baiting process all over again, often with fewer environmental objects left intact to hide behind. This is where patience really matters. Do not overcommit just because you see an opening. At this stage, your priority units are your thief and your hunter. They are the ones who will safely pressure him, while the rest of the team focuses on absorbing attention and burning ammunition. If you can push your hunter up just enough to keep summoning familiars and landing ranged attacks, the chip damage really starts adding up. Even moving your other units behind partial cover can still bait shots, even if Zodiac misses completely. Every wasted bullet brings you closer to another punish window, and when that moment comes, that is when your thief shines. Teleport behind him, land a massive backstab, and chunk his health down hard. Repeat this controlled cycle, stay disciplined, and you will slowly but surely dismantle him. At the end of the day, your entire strategy revolves around 2 things: familiars and cover. You are constantly rotating between hiding, baiting shots, summoning expendable allies, and slowly advancing. It is not flashy, but it is extremely effective. If you have access to status effects like bleed, poison, or slow, apply them whenever you can. Every bit of damage over time and every movement penalty makes a difference in a fight this punishing. Against Zodiac in Mewgenics, this is not the time to hold back resources. Use everything. and protect your cleric at all costs. Never move them without your tank, or at the very least another unit, positioned in front to block line of sight. Those heals are the backbone of your run. If your thief can teleport behind Zodiac, abuse that mechanic as much as possible because it trivializes huge portions of the encounter. Let your tank absorb key shots so your hunter can safely reposition and deal damage. Wait out the reload, collapse when the window opens, then reset and do it all again. Stay disciplined, stick to the cycle, and eventually Zodiac goes down. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.